The stars flickered in the vastness of space as the Galactic Council convened its most critical meeting, yet the fate of humanity was on the table as representatives from dozens of species filled the council chambers, their many eyes focused on the central screen showing the image of Earth, the home world of a species that had risen too fast, too unpredictably. The debate had been heated for days. Whispers of humanity's potential for chaos spread like wildfire. Their rapid expansionism had disrupted centuries of galactic peace, a series of border skirmishes with neighboring species that had ended in destruction and loss of life. The Council had tried diplomacy at first, but humanity's leaders refused to compromise. The last straw came when they discovered humans had been secretly building weapons capable of wiping out entire planets. Their thirst for power was evident and undeniable. The Council agreed Earth had to be neutralized, even if it meant exiling the entire species to the edge of the galaxy. The decision was swift and unanimous. Their exile was a decree from which there was no return. Earth would be cut off from the rest of the galaxy for good. No trade, no allies, no way to communicate with anyone else. They would be stranded on a distant and hostile world where survival would be their only concern. The representatives of the Council were cold as they voted, their faces unmoving, as if deciding the fate of an insignificant species. But those who watched from the chambers of their ships and stations across the galaxy knew this was something more. This was the turning point for humanity, a test of whether they would rise or fall. A delegation of Council enforcers traveled to Earth, led by the Ruthania species known for their cold and calculating nature. They carried out the order without hesitation, but as they approached Earth, something strange began to happen. The humans showed no signs of fear, no signs of panic. Instead, they gathered their forces on the ground. With determination, their ships prepared for any assault. Their technology, even in its infancy, had proven to be far more advanced than the Council had anticipated. The decision was final, though there was no turning back. As the enforcers descended to carry out their mission, they struck with a terrifying precision, disabling Earth's defenses and blocking all escape routes. The humans were not to leave the planet. For the first time in their history, humanity found themselves alone, stranded in a corner of the universe. No support, no guidance, just a planet teeming with untapped potential and dangers. The Council watched from afar, curious to see what would happen next. Would humanity turn inward, collapse into chaos, or rise from the ashes and prove they were something more than just a destructive force? The humans were not the only ones who watched, though. There were those in the galaxy who whispered that the Council had made a grave mistake, that they had underestimated the spirit of humankind. No one knew what would happen next. But one thing was clear: humanity was no longer just a blip on the galactic radar. They had been exiled, yes, but in that exile something new was about to emerge, something that would shake the foundations of the galaxy itself. When the last of the Enforcers' ships left Earth's orbit, humanity stood on the edge of oblivion, stranded on a world so far from their home. They could not even see the stars that had once guided them. The sky was dark and endless, like an ocean without shore. The planet they had been exiled to was harsh, unforgiving, a place where nothing came easy, a place where survival itself was a battle to be fought day after day. And yet, as the years passed, something incredible began to unfold. The first colonies that formed were small and fragile. They were born out of desperation, as humans clung to the remnants of their former civilization, scavenging what they could from the wreckage of their ships and technology from the Council's blockade. But those first colonies proved to be resilient, even when the planet's atmosphere grew thick with dangerous storms, and its vast wilderness teemed with massive predators larger than anything they had ever seen. The humans did not cower or retreat. They fought and adapted faster than anyone could have predicted. The planet itself was hostile in every sense of the word, from the blistering deserts that could melt metal to the dense jungles filled with creatures that hunted with terrifying precision. But in the face of these dangers, humanity's resourcefulness was their greatest strength. They began to learn the ways of the world, mastering its many challenges. They'd rebuilt from nothing, creating shelters from the bones of their fallen ships, crafting new tools from alien metals they had never seen before, and using their ingenuity to harness the planet's many dangerous resources, turning them into weapons of defense. One by one, The colonies grew stronger, each one more self-sufficient than the last. The humans, who had once been divided, now found a unifying cause: the survival of their species on this alien world. But their struggle was not only one of survival, it was one of defiance. They refused to be the meek exiles that the Council had hoped for. Instead, they became a force of nature, carving out new territories and daring to explore deeper into the wilderness. The world itself began to bend to their will as humanity's numbers swelled and their ambitions grew with them. Then came the day when the first great discovery was made in the ruins of an ancient city hidden beneath the surface of the planet's largest continent. A group of explorers stumbled upon something that would change everything. Strange structures built from materials that seemed to hum with power lay buried beneath centuries of earth and rock. At first, they thought it was merely another relic of a lost civilization. But as they dug deeper, they uncovered something far more remarkable: a vast underground network filled with forgotten technology that defied the laws of physics itself. In these ruins, they found weapons beyond their wildest dreams, energy sources that could fuel entire cities and starships without the need for fuel. The technology was so advanced that it seemed almost alien, even to those who had once thought they understood technology. But it wasn't just the weapons or energy they uncovered. It was something far more important: a series of star maps leading to distant systems and secrets about the galaxy that no one had ever known. With this discovery, humanity's future was no longer one of mere survival. It was one of ambition and exploration. They now had the tools and knowledge to rise above their exiled fate, to look beyond the planet that had once been their prison, and reclaim their place among the stars. In the heart of the ancient ruins, humanity had uncovered something far beyond their wildest expectations. The technology they found was not just advanced, it was almost impossible to comprehend the power it held at first. It seemed like a forgotten relic, a testament to a long-gone civilization. But as the humans studied it, they began to realize it was far more than that. It was a treasure trove of knowledge left behind for a purpose. Hidden in the depths of the planet was a key to something far greater than the world they had come to call home. The first breakthrough came when a team of engineers deciphered the strange symbols that adorned the walls of one of the deeper chambers. These symbols didn't just represent language, they were a blueprint for harnessing energy from the very fabric of space itself, a technology that could potentially make entire planets' power sources without any fuel or resources. They called it the zero-point engine, and it was unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. As they continued to explore the ruins, they found weapon systems that could manipulate gravity itself, turning the very laws of physics upside down. They found machines capable of building entire cities out of raw matter in an instant, and most astonishingly, they found a set of star maps that stretched far beyond the known galaxy. These maps showed routes to other star systems, hidden from the eyes of every race that had ever explored the galaxy, a path to lost civilizations and ancient powers that could change the course of history forever. The realization was sudden and overwhelming. They were no longer just survivors on an exiled world. They were now the keepers of a power that could rival anything the Galactic Council or any other species had ever dreamed of. Humanity had been given a chance not only to survive, but to thrive, to ascend beyond the limitations they had once faced, and perhaps even to reclaim their place among the stars. But with this power came a difficult decision. Humanity could no longer afford to remain passive. They could not simply rebuild and live in peace on their isolated planet. They had the means to strike back, and do so with overwhelming force. The Galactic Council had exiled them, thinking they were no threat. But now humanity had the ability to challenge the very structure of galactic power itself. There were some among the humans who were hesitant, unsure of how to use this newfound power. They had seen firsthand the consequences of unchecked ambition, the wars that had torn apart their world before their exile, and the destruction they had caused in their quest for dominance. But there were others who saw the potential for greatness. They saw this as an opportunity to reshape the galaxy, to create a new order, one where humanity could stand as equals, not exiles. In secret, a council was formed among the leaders of the surviving human colonies to discuss their options. The discovery of the zero-point engine and the star maps had opened up a world of possibilities, But it also carried risks. They could continue on their path of survival, building a peaceful society among themselves, or they could take a chance and reclaim their birthright among the stars, no matter the cost. The decision was not an easy one, but as the days passed and the human spirit burned brighter, the desire for something more became undeniable. Humanity would not remain caged on their distant world. They would rise, they would reclaim the stars, and they would be ready for whatever the galaxy threw their way. The decision had been made. Humanity would not fade into the shadows of the galaxy. They would rise and embrace the power that had been gifted to them in the depths of the alien ruins. The first step was to unlock the true potential of the zero-point engine. Once activated, it would provide unlimited energy, enough to fuel entire fleets of ships capable of crossing the vast expanse of space and re-establishing humanity's presence among the stars. But that was only the beginning. The engineers worked day and night, refining the technology they had uncovered piece by piece. The zero-point engine was integrated into the construction of the new ships built from the bones of old Earth's broken fleets and the alien tech they had scavenged from the ruins. This was no longer just a struggle for survival. It was the birth of a new era. As the ships took shape, their sleek, deadly frames glimmered in the light of the planet's distant sun. The humans now had the tools to reach out and challenge the galaxy they had once been cast away from. Soon the first fleet was ready to launch. It was a sight that no one could have imagined. Humanity's ships, now armed with alien weaponry and powered by the zero-point engines, were a marvel of design and function. They were faster, more maneuverable than anything the galaxy had seen before, and they were about to leave the planet that had exiled them for so long. The first mission was simple: exploration, a test to see how far they could reach without drawing attention to themselves. The human fleet launched into the depths of space, heading toward the first star system on the ancient maps. The journey was long and dangerous, but they had no choice. They needed to know what lay beyond the edge of their new world. As they crossed into uncharted space, humanity's ships encountered strange new phenomena. Nebula filled with iridescent gases, asteroid fields larger than entire solar systems, and remnants of forgotten wars, where civilizations had vanished without a trace. It was a haunting reminder of the power that lay dormant in the galaxy, but also a warning. There were forces out there far beyond their comprehension. But humanity was not afraid. Instead, it felt a sense of purpose, an unshakable resolve that had been forged in the fires of exile. They would not just explore. They would conquer. They would rebuild the alliances that had once been severed with the Council. They would reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy, and they would do it on their own terms. One by one, they found new worlds, new civilizations waiting in the darkness of space. They approached cautiously, at first sending out peaceful overtures, but it quickly became clear that humanity's arrival would not go unnoticed. Their reputation had spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. Whispers of their return had already begun circulating among the stars. The other species watched carefully as humanity's fleet passed through their systems, their curiosity growing with each new system they entered. The humans offered something no one else had. They offered a future of discovery and progress where all species could work together to create something greater than the sum of their parts. They didn't seek to dominate, they sought to elevate. They sought knowledge and power, but also the wisdom to wield it with purpose. And yet, in the quiet of the night, as the human fleet ventured further into the unknown, a shadow lurked in the darkness, a reminder that the galaxy was not as welcoming as it seemed, that the old powers, the Council and its allies, would not let humanity's rise go unchallenged. They had cast humanity away once, but now humanity's return would shake the very foundations of their empire. Humanity's fleet continued its steady expansion through the stars, and with each new world they encountered, whispers of their return grew louder. The first few alliances were formed cautiously, driven by the promise of technology and the human will to unite rather than conquer. Despite the growing optimism and the belief that peace was within reach, not everyone in the galaxy was eager to accept humanity's resurgence. In the shadows, the Galactic Council began to feel the stirrings of fear. Humanity's return was not just a challenge to their power, it was a threat to everything they had built. The Council knew that the old order, which had been maintained through balance and control, was slipping through their fingers. Humanity was an unpredictable force, too adaptable, too determined. While some factions within the Council argued that humanity could be reined in, others saw the writing on the wall. It wasn't just the weapons humanity had recovered that worried them. It was the sheer will of the human spirit, their ability to rise from the ashes when they were cast aside. In secret, the Council's most powerful members convened in dark chambers, plotting their next move. A covert operation was set in motion, an operation designed to cripple humanity's newfound fleet before it could grow too strong. The plan was simple but deadly. Sabotage. It wasn't enough to destroy humanity outright, but if they could cripple their alliances and slow down their progress, it would buy the galaxy time to adapt. Under the guise of diplomacy, agents of the Council infiltrated several of the newly formed human alliances. They spread misinformation, sowed distrust, and sabotaged communications, all while keeping their true intentions hidden. Some human colonies, weakened by internal strife, began to fracture as external pressures mounted. But what the Council underestimated was humanity's ability to recognize the patterns of their attacks. It started with small discrepancies, an unexpected communications blackout here, a sabotage incident there. But soon, a pattern emerged. Humanity was no longer just defending their territory. They were on the offensive. The unity they had forged began to grow stronger, more cohesive, and their countermeasures became increasingly sophisticated. When the truth became clear, the humans reacted with the speed and precision that the galaxy had never seen before. They had long since realized the Council would never accept their rise, and so they had prepared. Humanity had a network of spies and operatives embedded within the galactic systems, working tirelessly to gather intelligence and neutralize the Council's subversive actions before they could do real damage. Now that their adversary's plan had been exposed, they moved swiftly to dismantle the sabotage, exposing the Council's agents and reclaiming the trust of their allies. But the damage had already been done. The Council's covert war had pushed humanity into a new phase, a phase of retaliation. No longer would the humans simply seek peaceful coexistence. They would act, swiftly and decisively, to ensure that their rise would be unstoppable. Humanity's fleet, now fully armed and operational, prepared for a series of strikes against the Council's most vulnerable positions. In a sudden move, humanity's forces launched a coordinated campaign, targeting Council infrastructure across multiple systems. It wasn't just an attack on military strongholds, it was an attack on the very foundation of the Council's control. For the first time in millennia, the once unassailable empire was shaken, and the galaxy knew that humanity had entered the arena not as exiles, but as conquerors. The war had officially begun, and humanity, long shackled to their exiled world, had made their presence felt in the galaxy. The Galactic Council, reeling from the surprise attacks on their most strategic systems, struggled to mount an effective defense. Their resources, stretched thin by years of complacency, were no match for the focused and unrelenting force of the humans. The first major strike came in the form of an assault on the Council's central hub, a fortress planet that had once been thought impregnable. Humanity's fleet, now an armada of sleek warships powered by the zero-point engines and armed with weapons capable of breaking the strongest shields, tore through the defenses of the Council's stronghold with ruthless precision. The battle was swift, brutal, and decisive. The once unyielding hub fell within hours, its commanding leaders captured or fleeing into the void of space. But humanity's real objective was not the planet. It was a message to the galaxy that their exile was over. Yet, despite their early successes, the humans knew that the Council would never forgive them for what they had done. Their victory would not go unchallenged. While the human fleet celebrated its triumphs, a shadow loomed over their victory. The very thing they had been exiled for, their homeworld, Earth. For years, Earth had been a symbol of their defeat, a constant reminder of the galaxy's disdain for humanity. The Council had stripped them of their home, And now, with the power to strike back, humanity's leaders knew it was time to take it back. But the journey would not be easy. Earth had been heavily fortified by the Council and its allies, a series of defenses so robust that it seemed impossible for anyone to break through. But humanity had grown far beyond what anyone had imagined. The discoveries in the ruins had granted them the ability to bypass the Council's greatest defenses. With the fleet at full strength, humanity turned its focus to reclaiming Earth, the heart of their civilization, and the final symbol of their struggle for freedom. The first wave of ships arrived above Earth's atmosphere, a stark contrast to the quiet, empty sky that had once existed. The Council's defenses, while formidable, were not enough to stop the sheer force of humanity's will. Wave after wave of human vessels cut through the defense grids like knives through butter, their weapons overpowering the shields and striking at the heart of the Council's fortifications. But the Council wasn't blind to the threat. In the moments before Earth's atmosphere was engulfed by the oncoming fleet, they sent their elite forces to hold their ground. The space around Earth became a chaotic battleground, with human ships locked in fierce dogfights with the Council's most experienced pilots. For every human victory, the cost in lives and ships grew higher, but the resolve of the humans only strengthened. On the surface, the situation was no less intense. Human forces fought to liberate cities that had long been under alien occupation. They pushed through enemy lines, reclaiming their cities, their homes, and their families. The planet that had once been abandoned was now a battleground, but it was one humanity was prepared to win. And in the heart of the chaos, one symbol remained: the old cities of Earth, now a beacon of humanity's indomitable will. It was here, on this battered but resilient world, that humanity made their final stand. They would no longer be exiles. They would take back their birthright, no matter the cost. The siege of Earth had proven to be only the beginning of humanity's fury. As human forces reclaimed their homeworld, the galaxy's power structure began to shake. The Galactic Council, once an unassailable titan, found itself buckling under the weight of a rebellion that had been both swift and unforgiving. Earth was no longer just a symbol of human defiance. It was now the rallying point for the oppressed, the forgotten, and the outcasts of the galaxy. Humanity had become a beacon of hope for those who had long been silenced by the Council's iron grip. Word of Earth's reclamation spread like wildfire across star systems, reaching distant corners of the galaxy where the Council's influence had once been absolute. Systems that had once been forced into subjugation began to rise up, inspired by the humans' audacity and strength. Colonies that had been under the Council's thumb for centuries saw the opportunity to break free, and one by one, they began to sever their ties with the once glorious empire. The Council, in a desperate attempt to preserve its crumbling authority, mobilized what remained of its fleets. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. The human-led rebellion had gained too much momentum, and its forces were too strong to ignore. The few loyal factions of the Council's military had been scattered across the galaxy, and their resistance only served to delay the inevitable. Humanity was coming for them, and they would not be stopped. The final blow came in the form of a grand offensive. Humanity's fleet, now bolstered by the fleets of their new allies, surged toward the Council's heart, a massive station that orbited the core of their civilization. It was the hub from which the Council controlled its vast empire, a fortress that had been built to withstand the might of entire star systems. But it had never faced anything like the combined might of humanity and its growing coalition. The assault on the Council's station was brutal. Humanity's warships, now honed by years of warfare and powered by the energy of the zero-point engines, tore through the station's defenses with terrifying efficiency. They were no longer a ragtag group of exiles. They were an unstoppable force, driven by vengeance and the desire for freedom. Inside the station, the last of the Council's leaders scrambled to maintain order, but their efforts were futile. The rebellion had infiltrated the heart of their empire. As the station's central command fell, it became clear that the Galactic Council had no hope of regaining control. The once mighty empire was crumbling, its leaders either fleeing into the unknown or falling to the hands of the humans who had been cast aside so many years ago. In the final moments of the battle, as the last remnants of the Council's military forces were overwhelmed, the Council's leader, the High Chancellor, was captured. The once proud figure who had signed the decree exiling humanity to the far reaches of the galaxy was now a prisoner of the very species they had sought to erase. The humiliation was complete. The galaxy watched as the human fleet declared victory over the Council. The power structure that had dominated the stars for centuries was no more. In its place, humanity stood, no longer exiled, but in control of their destiny and the future of the galaxy. But even in victory, humanity knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless mysteries and challenges. And while they had toppled the Council, the true test was yet to come, the creation of a new order, one where they could build a future, not just for themselves, but for all those who had been silenced in the wake of the Council's tyranny. The fall of the Galactic Council had left the galaxy in a state of chaos. The once powerful institutions that had held the stars in their iron grip were now nothing more than shattered remnants of a forgotten era. In the aftermath of the Council's downfall, the galaxy teetered on the edge of uncertainty. Factions vying for power, old alliances broken, and the scars of centuries of oppression were left in the wake of the human rebellion. But humanity, born from the fires of exile, knew better than to let chaos reign. They had learned the hard way that survival was only the first step. They had learned that the true path forward was one of unity, strength, and vision. With the fall of the Galactic Council, humanity seized the opportunity to shape the future, not just for themselves, but for all the species that had once been silenced by the Council's control. From Earth, now a symbol of their resurgence, humanity began the long and arduous task of rebuilding the galaxy's fractured order. Rather than seeking domination, they sought cooperation, a new kind of empire, one based on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and the promise of a future where all civilizations could thrive. They called it the Galactic Union. Humanity's first decree was simple: no one would be left behind. The oppressed species that had once been enslaved, the outcasts who had fought for freedom in secret, were invited to join the Union on equal footing. Humanity's fleet, now vast and well-equipped, patrolled the stars not to subjugate, but to protect, to ensure that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. Where the Council had ruled with fear and manipulation, the Union would lead with wisdom and inclusivity. Humanity's influence began to spread quickly. Alien species, long distrustful of each other, found themselves drawn to the idea of a new beginning. The galaxy, once divided by countless conflicts, began to unite under the banner of the Union. The promise of shared resources, technological advancements, and the protection of the peaceful became a powerful lure. What had once been impossible was now a reality. Civilizations that had never interacted before began to forge alliances, trade, and collaborate on scientific endeavors that no one species could have achieved alone. Yet, even as the foundations of the Galactic Union were being laid, there were those who still resisted. The old powers, those who had clung to the Council's dying structure, whispered of rebellion. Dissidents and former military leaders who had served the Council began to form secretive cells, hoping to rekindle the old ways. But their efforts were met with swift and decisive action. Humanity's rise was not one born of violence for the sake of power. It was one born of necessity. They had been exiled, but now they would never be pushed aside again. The leaders of the Union, composed of humans and other species alike, met frequently to ensure the ideals they fought for were never lost. The galaxy was vast, and it would take generations to heal the wounds left by centuries of oppression. But humanity, with its boundless drive, was determined to see the Union thrive. And in the heart of this new empire stood Earth, no longer a forgotten, exiled planet, but the beating heart of a new era, one of unity, exploration, and endless possibility. The stars no longer belonged to the Council. They belonged to all who dared to dream. Humanity had not just survived. They had risen to become the architects of the galaxy's future. The galaxy was vast, but now it was theirs to shape.